Yo, what up? Good morning, guys. Have a little technical difficulty, but let's see here. All right, there we go. Sorry about that. Fast Fingers Eddie here, coming into the studio with us today. This good morning. This is the Sports Affiliations Hoop Show, TSA Hoop Show, brought to you by the Sports Affiliation, where you can get your great bets. Where we have a great community of fantasy fantasy players, associated guys that are really deeply committed to their sports and betting and bringing all their information to you, the watchers, the listeners out there. So once again, I am JR. I am back after a little hiatus. Apologize for the in and out, but that's what life is all about, right? If you are here, it is because someone either recommended you or you stumbled onto us, which is a happy stumble. And we appreciate you guys being here this morning. It is 7:30 approximately in the morning on the West Coast here in sunny San Diego with my daughter Quinn. If you have seen this show before, you have seen her as well, giving us a little luck today as we start to unfold what has happened so far, which is game one of the NBA Finals, featuring the Dallas Mavericks versus the Boston Celtics. And yes, here we are. So today is going to give you guys a little breakdown. What we're going to do is we're going to break down what happened game one. I'm going to talk a little bit more about what may happen today for game two, which is going to be at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. I believe it's on ABC as well. We're also going to be talking a little bit about the WNBA because right now, one of the popular topics going around X and all social media is the Caitlin Clark effect, which has continued to affect how we yes, and without further ado, one of the things that we should go ahead and quickly address, Dallas Mavericks getting absolutely dog walked on end to end by the Boston Celtics, is that not a lot of us anticipated what the game of Kristaps Porzingis would be when he came back from injury. He was anticipated to play game one, and did he ever? Boy, 20 points, one of the most efficient games I've ever seen from a big man in the last 5 years. Outside of Nikola Jokic, who absolutely single-handedly torched the Dallas Mavericks by himself in the first quarter uh, of Game One on Thursday, and it looked like not only was he 100%, but it looked like Porzingis was also going to be the player of the game, which I kind of have to give it to him for coming back from an injury and as rested as he was. You would think that nerves, anticipating possible, I don't know, any possible setback. He should have looked a lot more like Maxi Kleber out there, where he had the playing time, but shots might not have been falling, or could have been fumbling the ball, could have been late on some of those pick and rolls that he set up between himself and Tatum, or himself and Brown. And it was the complete opposite. We all said the same thing. If you were like me, you either stayed away from Porzingis altogether because it's the first game back from injury, or you decided, you know what, I'm going to bet him, but I'm going to bet the under because he's probably going to have a quiet game. It's going to be the Tatum and Brown show, which is what we've been anticipating for this whole playoffs, right? We've essentially been anticipating for those two guys to be the A and B of these games. Yo, what up, SoCal? Hey, appreciate you tuning in, man. Early in the morning for both of us for here in San Diego. And then what ended up happening was Kristaps decided to say, "No, I'm here. I'm here, guys. I'm here." And it's been absolutely insane. In fact, you know what? I'm probably not going to be able to say this myself. What we're probably going to do, we're going to have my boy Evan jump in here. I know that he's a little bit busy himself, but he's going to be able to grace our presence in just a moment. But yeah, we need to quickly talk about how powerful Kristaps Porzingis, him playing like he did, definitely changed the complete dynamic of how we saw this game one. Yo, SoCal, what up, man? Good morning, sir. I know you're probably busy this morning. Appreciate you taking a couple of seconds to jump in with us, man.
Yes, sir. JR, good morning, man. Hope you the little one are doing well, brother. Yeah, I'm at work, but I was like, you know what? I got a few minutes here to talk a little NBA Finals action, get on and yeah. So you're talking about Porzingis, huh?
Yes, we got to talk about Porzingis because, I mean, as much as we anticipated the Boston Celtics to come out collectively and not so much dog walk the Dallas Mavericks, but just basically show them why the Boston Celtics were probably the proverbial favorite to win. But the fact that Kristaps Porzingis didn't play one game this entire playoffs and just came out like he was the guy. He's looking like a Finals MVP candidate if he continues to play like this.
Yeah, I mean, Kristaps Porzingis is a hell of a basketball player. I mean, let's start with that, right? Let's start with that. I know that he's been a traveler, if you will, right? Things didn't go as great in Dallas. He wasn't talked about much in Washington, although you go back and look at some of those Wizards games, he played very well, but you kind of go to Washington to disappear nowadays and reemerge on a team that makes the NBA Finals because I don't know if you saw the stat. They've had like 7 straight years a former Wizard has won the title.
Yes.
So, just kind of funny, right?
That was absolutely the weirdest stat that I saw. It said they started talking about KCP. I believe not Washington. I mean, Kristaps is in there as well. But they just started listing off each former Washington player, and I'm starting to think, like, is that just a place where players go to simmer and work on their game so that way they can help teams win a championship?
Right. And this year it's going to be one or the other, Gafford or, Porzingis. And, I mean, right now it looks like Porzingis, but again, I mean, basketball is a game of adjustments. I'm not saying that Dallas is cooked. I mean, I have Boston in this series, and obviously I still do, but I'm not going to sit here and say that they're going to come out and just win game 2 by 20 points. I'm going to think that Dallas is able to make some adjustments. But back to Porzingis, man, the ability of him as a big man to be down low, right? Like you don't think about him as a huge defender, but you look at the numbers, he is one of the better rim protectors in the NBA, right? Yes. And if Dallas can't get him away from the basket, like they were able to effectively do to the Timberwolves, and get that alley-oop game. I mean, I know he was in foul trouble, but where was Derek Lively in the offense? I mean, 1 shot attempt, and I know, again, the fouls had to do with that, but the inability to pull Porzingis away and use that pick-and-roll game that worked so well in the Minnesota series, they need to be able to do that. And that's just one part of it, because the other part of what Porzingis does, he stretches the floor. He's a 7'2" guy that can knock down jump shots, right? He's a guy that can hit the 3. He's the guy that's going to make Dallas, who likes to protect the rim a little bit, right? They got to come out too, which for Boston, I don't know how much it benefits because, listen, Boston will take 100 threes if you give it to them. That's, we talked about this last week on, the sub home slice. Like Boston wants to take threes and they want to make 35 to 40%. And when they do, they usually win the basketball game. That's just who they are. And if it doesn't work, which is one thing I think that gives Dallas a chance, is can Boston go cold a few games? Can they? Because when they do, they don't have an answer of what else to do, and they don't try to do anything else.
Right. It's almost as if they walk themselves into a good game. Their offense sort of it's sort of a self-producing offense. It's actually kind of weird because and yeah, shout out to Iggy for also mentioning that, for mirroring what you're saying. It's that essentially if you are the Boston Celtics, you sort of will this offense to come alive. I mean, they're naturally 105. 106 average scoring offense, and that just naturally happens. Yes, the 3 points happen, and we're going to get to the 3-point part actually in a bit. I believe that just because of the huge disparity from the first quarter on, you didn't see a lot of that necessary coming out from Boston. They didn't really need the 3-point shot. The middle was essentially wide open for this team. It was absolutely insane how many interior points was coming out of Boston Celtics. But just to close out the point about Kristaps Porzingis, do not change the fact that KP was a lottery draft pick years ago. So it's not that he's not that guy. It's just that we haven't seen him traditionally. Of course, the lingering injuries, the teams that he's been on from year to year hasn't allowed him to be this type of player. We've seen it in spots, but it's just absolutely amazing to come out first game and just say, no, I got it. Don't worry, guys. I got it. Taking it.
I mean, you wonder how much chess was being played by the Celtics and Missoula, because I do believe, and no disrespect to their opponents, but I do believe they thought they could beat Indiana without him. And then they came out and kind of slow played it like, well, yeah, he's going to play in the finals. Then he came out and said he wasn't quite 100%. That's just what they tell us, right? We have no idea. This guy could have been ready to go, for the Indiana series, and maybe not. Maybe he is still hobbled too, and he just, he's a shooter, right? Shooters are going to shoot. He got hot. He had some confidence. And this is a guy that I think he fits well, right? It's Boston. They know what they want to do with him. They go back to what they run with him. They're used to doing that. They were a dominant team all regular season long with him. So I don't think you have that like, oh, who are we now that KP's back in the lineup? What changes? I don't see that. And you know what? They've had Tatum. They've had Brown. They know what they're doing. Drew Holiday is probably one of the best players to have on your team to adapt to any changes in the game or during the break. They had 10 days, in between time. Like, I just don't think – the question was, is he healthy? Is he going to get re-hurt when he goes out there? Is he going to be a factor because he's hobbled? And I think he answered that question. And now do we see more minutes out of him, which, again, makes them just a better team. They are a much better team when KP's on the court. So
and shout out to Boston for being able to continue what they normally do. And I'm going to say it like this, despite the coming back of KP. We need to switch gears real quick here. And again, appreciate you coming on, Evan. We need Iggy, good morning. We're going to go ahead and get you in here in just a few moments. And Wendy, we're going to get to your question in just a second about the time period in between game 1 and game 2. Because scheduling definitely matters for this series. But before that, we want to talk about the other side. Dallas Mavericks. I want to tell you guys, traditionally, except for the most recent series, Dallas drops the first game. And Dallas is horrible in game 1s. And so, Cal, you mentioned this before, like, we're not sure if it's more of a chess game on Missoula's part. But essentially, game 1s, I look at game 1s as you're playing with house money. Especially if you're Boston Celtics, because you're at home, you can do whatever you want in game 1 because all you're doing is collecting data from that. If you win, absolutely amazing. If you don't, then you got all the data that you need to make that adjustment. Dallas has traditionally come out in game 2 and won their game 2s. Boston, on the flip side, has traditionally come out and lost their game 2s. So if all things hold pat, then today we're going to see Dallas win. Is it going to be because of adjustments? Is it going to be because Boston traditionally drops a game? We don't know. But what we normally look for are all the normal sorts to come out firing. So Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum. Okay, we'll go ahead and set that aside. The question now is Kyrie Irving going to have the same game that he had in the game 1 that he's had for game 1s this entire playoff series? Are we going to see that Kyrie? Or are we going to see the game 2 Kyrie, which comes out firing, hits about 32, is essentially carrying the team, where Luka gets to take a back seat, shoot 28, and then do a lot of assists? We don't know, honestly, because as much as Jaylen Brown was doing a great job of help defending on Kyrie, as much as Kyrie wasn't getting to the line and getting open shots, this whole thing started with that first quarter. And essentially, if you look at within the first 5 minutes, the lack of interior defensive rebounding was why was why we were where we were at with Boston. Boston just essentially took off with this. So we're gonna go ahead and move between game one. We're gonna transition to game two. Talk about that. Do a little preview for that. But before that, let me see if my man Iggy is available. See if we can add him to the stage real quick. And while we're doing that, Wendy. So to answer your question, and good morning, by the way. And if you are just tuning in, this is the Sports Affiliations TSA Hoop Show. We're doing the preview of game two between the Dallas Mavericks and Boston Celtics today. We did a review of game one between them as well. And then we're going to be essentially talking a little bit more about the WNBA as we go later on. But between game one and game two is all just a scheduling thing. The schedule changes between the playoffs leading up to a point and the NBA Finals, because the NBA Finals essentially gets set well before the NBA Finals actually happens. So this schedule is because this is how the NBA set it. That's it. Nothing to do. Sorry about that. Lost that a little bit there. Kick the cord a little bit. That happens from time to time. But anyway,
you're back. You're back now. I didn't know what happened there, but yeah. I mean, and Sunday night, I mean, they want the viewership, right? I mean, I mean, I know it's not quite as popular, but game one of the Stanley Cup was last night. So you don't want to compete with that ratings, right? So and Sunday night, everybody's at home and you want the ratings, you want the viewership, man.
On top of that, don't forget the WNBA is also playing, so they get a lot of the early games as well. Wendy says she is losing interest. Oh, don't worry. Why don't you just flip over to the WNBA? Trust me, it's a lot more drama, a lot more points being scored. There's a lot more of a backstory going on right there too. So you might want to flip over to that instead if you're getting bored of the WNBA finals, which is a-okay. That's a-okay if you're getting bored with the WNBA. Let's move on to today's game. Okay, today's game, again, we just started talking about it. The traditionalities between the two teams. Again, Boston tending to drop game two for whatever reason. We still haven't been able to put our finger on the reason why Boston traditionally drops game two. But look for a big bounce back game from Kyrie Irving. I'm going to throw a little bit of things to look for this game, things that we didn't see the first game. One thing that I did want to touch on as far as game one, game two, Peyton Pritchard. He has been a three-point phenom for the Boston Celtics this entire playoff series. It's been a big question mark as to why he went a big goose egg. Not no three-pointers, but no points, period. He has been part of the reason why Boston Celtics has been able to come back for some of those game threes, been able to hang around in those game twos when there has essentially been negative or no offense from Tatum or Brown. When he comes on, the offense continues to hold, especially from the three-point line. And he went cold. I'm expecting a bounce-back game from him, at least to this game. We got to check and see where the line is for him this game. We're going to post some of that stuff up later. Check for the links underneath this video, by the way, later on X, and we'll also post it on YouTube in the comments later on as far as some plays for later today, so keep an eye out for that. But Peyton Pritchard, he's definitely a guy that I'm looking forward to score. Man, Gafford and between any of the Dallas big men right now, rebounds were absolutely there and available, and it's a huge question as to why that they didn't get any, mostly because we talked about the foul trouble from earlier. But one of the adjustments that I think is going to have to be made is that they're going to have to put somebody else on KP and somebody.
I think we lost you there real quick. Let him pop back on here. Oh, we lost JR altogether. I don't know. Iggy, are you there? I don't know what JR was completely getting ready to say there, talking about switching somebody else on KP, talking about, the big men of Dallas, the rebounding. If you watch game one, I mean, Maxi Kleber was out there for 20 plus minutes. A lot of that had to do with Derek Lively being in the foul trouble he was in. I think if Jason Kidd had his way and the Mavs had their way, Lively would be on the court easily for 25 minutes in that game. They want him out there. They want his youth. They want his athleticism. They want his ability around the rim on both sides of the basketball. I know that Boston's going to take a lot of threes, but they still want Lively protecting that rim on defense too, as well as Gafford, right? Gafford's been blocking shots at a high rate, in these playoffs. But Boston isn't a team that really attacks the basket as much. They're fine with kicking out, like we said, taking 45, threes in the game. That's who they are. That's what they do. But Lively is definitely, there we go. We got JR back, but but Lively is the guy that, like I said, I was saying they want Lively out there 25 minutes, not Maxi Kleber, right? And they just didn't get to do that. But they need that. He needs to be a rim protector. He needs to be a rim involvement. And I know you were talking about the switch on KP, so I'll let you get back into that because I don't want to jump ahead too much on what Dallas needs to do.
Absolutely. And you know what? That Lively was the other adjustment. And you touched on it, giving these guys the perfect points. And Lively is going to, it's Lively, and then it's PJ Washington. Those are the two guys that are going to have to step up, because as much as we love to try to hang this on the performance of, and we saw it in the third quarter, the ability of Kyrie and Luka to bring back this team. But it has to start with interior defense, because again, the Boston Celtics were walking down Broadway. Okay, they were taking the flight into Dallas Fort Worth and then just walking that ball right into the throats of the Dallas Mavericks. And Lively is going to have to be a big part of that. PJ Washington is definitely going to have to start hitting some corner threes in order to open up the offense to allow these big guys to score. Because if you look at the way that Luka and Kyrie were scoring the ball, it was from the inside. Yeah, Luka was hitting some really big long-range threes. But in order for stuff to open up, and you saw it for Boston, KP was going to work on the interior. It opened up a lot of threes for guys like Jrue Holiday. And that's just it. I hate to put it all on a guy who doesn't make max pay. He's not the 30 million guy, but he's going to have to play like a 30 million guy. He's going to have to be, Lively's going to have to be their almost like the offensive version of Dwight Howard for the Lakers on their 2020 season. He's going to have to be the guy to step up, and he's going to be the X factor on Dallas. So look for Lively. If there's a PRA of at least 15, that's like 10 points and a few rebounds, that's going to be the first thing to look for. We talked about it way before the series started in our last show a couple of weeks ago. We talked about blocks. And who would have thought that Kristaps Porzingis would have got 3 blocks this game? But the blocks and interior defense are going to be the key for this series. And I think Lively is going to be that guy. I think we're going to see less foul trouble from our big men. I think either the whistle's just going to go away. We have to check and see who's on the officiating crew today, because that's definitely been making a big difference in between all of our games and the free throws. And I think that's going to be able to help Boston slow down his interior defense today. That's what I got for game 2. If you guys have any other questions about how you want to play today's game, please make sure to put them in the comments below. Please be sure to check for us on X, as it is now officially known, since they just recently changed their URL. Okay, good job, guys. Finally figured it out of who you are. Hopefully Dallas figures out who they are later today at 5 o'clock. So hopefully you guys can tune in. And that brings us just about to the halfway point of our show today. I'm just checking to see if there are any comments in here that we didn't get to. Iggy says that Kid says that he hopes that the series isn't about the Mavs needing to raise their game. Boston raising their threes was another comment. And absolutely, you know what? I hope this really isn't about Dallas and having jitters right now. I mean, yes, they're on the road. The whole series, the whole playoffs has just been about who's been able to win game 2 and game 3. So Boston, I don't know. I'm betting against Boston today, just simply because Boston, I believe they feel that they don't need to do much, that they're going to continue to get this team, this somewhat inexperienced team as far as finals are concerned. We do forget Kyrie's a champion, and Luka's sort of been there before. So yes, Kid's been here before. This is Kid's 4th trip, I want to say, to the NBA Finals. 3 as a player and his 1st as a coach. I think I have that right. I have to go back and check the fact on that, but this is a less experienced Dallas team versus Boston Celtics, who basically been here just, it feels like every other year. It's not every other year, but they've gotten close just about every year. And so these guys are just essentially ready, and I think that they feel that they can win. Today, I'm not saying they're going to drop a game, but Dallas might come out swinging today. I'm looking at the total points on the over-under. Just real quick, let's go ahead and throw this up there. Let's see what the .com has for the over-under today for. It'll be much easier if we just go on here. And I'll take over the notes. And again, if you guys are just tuning in, this is the Sports Affiliations TSA Hoop Show. I am your host, JR, with the spotty internet. And we got Evan, who's giving us his gracious minutes. He's pulling double duty today at work and on here too. If you follow him on X, it's at SoCalBallNerd. And you know that he's always giving it to you live and direct. Let's see here. Dallas versus. Oh, give me my NBA. Let's see here.
As you're looking at that, I mean, talking about game 2 a little bit too, I mean, Boston, again, they're going to come out and they're going to take their threes. And like, if Boston makes their threes, every game is going to be kind of tough for Dallas. But going back to, I mean, you can't, if you're the Mavericks, you can't shoot 7 of 27 from behind the arc and win this series. Like, you can't be minus 27 from 3-point range against the Boston Celtics. Like, they have got to take more threes. Boston gave them some, even though Porzingis had those 3 blocks, Boston gave them 2-point shots a lot of that game. But you're not going to trade 2 for 3s with Boston. Like, Boston's fine with that, and I think we'll see a lot of that change if they're able to. And this thing, can they get the pick and roll going? Can they get Kyrie going? Can they get some easier shots? But then can they make their shots from outside? Like PJ Washington, Derek Jones, Kyrie and Luka, who were a combined 4 for 17 from 3-point range. They've got to be able to knock down those threes because, again, if you're minus 27, man, like, I don't want to make it just about that and that's it. But if you're minus 27 in the 3-point column in the NBA today, you're losing pretty much every game. I mean, you can go back and show me a box score. I'll be very shocked if it's not 90%, if it's a minus 27, that you somehow won that basketball game.
Yeah. And you know what? That's going to be – all right. So that's three quick points of – talk about 3-pointers. First thing, the line right now set at about 214, 215, which it's going to be close. It's going to be like a 108, 109 set. So you can get close to the over. You have a higher percentage of it being under just because still these teams aren't reaching the 110s, the 120s right now. The game 2 traditionally don't follow that. So I would personally bet the under. We talk about the 3 points this game, the disparity, that minus 27. Again, that's the Kristaps Porzingis effect from that first quarter because he did so phenomenally well on an interior. It essentially opened up and people were walking down 3-pointers that first quarter. So that minus 27, great stat. It's also a simple reflection upon how big Kristaps did and what that first quarter looked like for that game. So, and then the last but not least, again, Luka and Kyrie were a huge part of that 3-point disparity because they were taking them. Those shots were just not falling. They looked flat. They looked gassed. The whole Dallas team looked lost. And I personally was lost too. I said, okay, you know what, KP, let's bet the under on him. I bet the under on him on everything. on everything, okay? And he completely, like, if you took him in daily fantasy the other day on Thursday, you absolutely ate, because he probably came to you cheap. So congratulations to you guys. But I don't think that that's a back-to-back thing. Again, you're probably going to get better quality shots on those PNRs. Definitely going to set harder screens.
Oh, I think we're losing JR again there. Yeah, I feel like the whole world is going to be on Porzingis stats tonight in the props. So as much as I like the guy, I loved him all season long, I'm going to stay away from Porzingis and play this game much differently. Although I think he still is able to go out there and have a good game. I just think everyone's going to see what he did and be all about Kristaps tonight. I'm looking more at the Mavs side, whether they win or lose. I just think there's some good targets there on the props. I know that we like, we like Derek Lively tonight to obviously, come back in and just play, 20 plus 25 minutes in this game. And if he does that, you expect him to be active. I know Iggy posted in the Discord, the bet of the day for TSA, and that is Derek Lively over 6.5 rebounds, which I know the other day you could get that at plus money. I don't know exactly. I don't have the odds in front of me, but he was at plus money over 6.5. He had 5 rebounds in 18 minutes in a game where he was tentative, in a game where he was timid due to foul trouble. I don't think he meant to. Maybe he had a little jitters and nerves too, but I just think the early fouls just took away the way he wanted to play. He stays out of foul trouble. They need him on the court like we talked about. I think Lively over 6.5 rebounds is just a call we got to go back to here. And again, win or loss, we're not worried about that in this play. So, and on the Mavs, man, I think they got to shoot the 3 ball. They can't just shoot 27 threes against this Celtics team. They're going to have to knock them down. I don't think Kleber plays 25 minutes again, but he's going to get his run. I think they still want him out there. I don't know why he didn't take any threes. He was plus money to make 1 3 in game 1. I want to say he's at about maybe minus 105, but I do like Kleber to take a few threes today. They got to stretch the floor. So I like Kleber to hit one today. And going back to Josh Green, threes too. He only took one and made one. But back to the point, Dallas needs to take more 3-point attempts. They need to stretch the floor. I think Josh Green is another good play. He was a heavy favorite to hit a 3 in game 1, so only taking 1 shot. He did knock it down, which was nice, but his numbers are a little better today. I want to say it's about minus 125 to hit a 3. So I was just saying there, JR, that Lively rebound that we posted over 6.5 rebounds, I think, is just a killer play. And back to the 3 ball for the Mavs. I like Josh Green and I like Maxi Kleber to both knock one down today. The Mavs just have to take threes, man. They have to. They have to stretch the floor. Somehow, some way, they're going to need that to keep up with this game,
Key for this game is going to be quality shots. And the internet's reminding me to make my points quick because I get on it and then it just kicks me off right off. So we're just going to get right down to it. Hey, good morning, Pete. Appreciate you joining us here this morning on the TSA show with the spotty internet for your host, JR. Hey, what's going on, guys? Okay, so thank you for rounding out that point, SoCal, because you're right. It's got the threes are going to be taken. They have to be made. That's just it. Rebounds, 3-point shooting, interior defense. If those 3 points aren't hit, this is a series. That's it. It's done. That's 18 for Boston. And for all you Lakers fans out there, we're sort of pulling for Dallas. Personally, I'm sort of just wishing that this whole series goes 7 and everyone just kind of like has to use their third stringers because I don't appreciate Boston for that tail kicking they gave us years ago in 2011, and it's Buck Boston all day. So take that for what you will. Okay, so just rounding out, I'm putting. Let's go money line Dallas today. Over on Lively rebounds. Kristaps Porzingis blocks is going to be a question, and I'm betting the under on the total today. So those are the 4 plays that are coming in live from the show. Again, anything else coming in later, we'll add in as a link to what we're doing later, what we're adding. If you follow us, you see my ad down here is the ad for F Apollo. If you follow Evan, that's at SoCal Ball Nerd. If you follow our guy that does our daily our fantasy betting show, that's at IDP_Iggy. That's our boy Iggy. And we got a bunch of us here, the sports affiliation, who love to throw in our daily bets, especially for something as important as this, which is the NBA Finals, Game 2 tonight, 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. I believe it's on ABC, so you guys tune in. Now,
I think that spotty internet might be up. There we go.
It's like,
is he coming back? Do I want to start talking? Do I want to wait?
Okay. So, real quick, we need to get to what has been one of the two bigger stories of basketball over the last week, which is the Caitlin Clark effect. We are going to be approaching the Olympics. Again, we are going to be covering the Olympics. And I just want to get your take real quick while I got you on SoCal. Caitlin Clark being left off of the roster for the women's Olympic team. What's your thought?
I mean, I look at it as like I see two sides of it. Obviously, we see what she's doing for the game and what they're, what attention it's bringing to the sport, and that's great, right? It's bringing everybody else the attention. If you follow the WNBA and you look at the best players, you can argue that she may not be right now. We're not looking at what she did in Iowa. We're not looking about what she did about bringing the attention. We're looking at the game. There are other players in this league that are deserving of those spots. And I think as much as it's an unfortunate thing to say, man, look at all the attention she would bring, look at how much probably more attention we would get. I get that. But the message you're sending, I think they're making a statement saying we're still going to take the best players and not worry about that. Because I think overall for the integrity of the league, overall for the integrity of the women as a whole and a group and an organization and a family of women trying to improve and better that sport and everything, I just think that's the right move. I mean, if you're saying that she doesn't make the cut on the basketball court, we're not going to compromise somebody who does because we want the glamour and the attention that she brings us. We want the attention because of what these women do on the court. And I honestly think that's a hard decision to make because you benefit financially, you benefit in every way that you want to by bringing her in. But I think you're making the right move to take the best players.
I 100% agree with everything. And I want to just throw this out there. Again, no one's talking about the men's side where we have LeBron handpicking his team. No one's talking about that, okay? They said that they were going to add Kawhi Leonard as the last player, and we said, oh, well, I guess he deserves it. Oh, no, someone else should get it. And then we went silent because that's how big the Caitlin Clark effect is. And I keep calling it that. I do want to point out the comments that Angel reset the other day before her game versus it wasn't the Fever. Can't think of it right now. But before a game, she also said, you guys are here to see me too. We're selling out crowds too. And as much as people are trying to bash her in the comments, it is correct. We are not just here to see Caitlin Clark. We're here to see what this whole draft class is doing. They're also selling out Sparks tickets, okay, which has been a very hard thing to do the last couple of seasons. As a Sparks fan since the Lisa Leslie days, I'm telling you, the Great Western Forum was not getting sold out, okay? It's absolutely amazing what Cameron Brink has brought to the Sparks, okay? So do not come here and tell me that all this is just because of one player. I mean, it's more of a Steph Curry effect because it's flashing. For me, the scoring style is flash in the pan. It's gonna actually continue. We've seen players like this before, but for the most part, this whole draft class, the top 10, people are coming here to see. So I strongly believe that leaving Caitlin Clark off is better for the longevity of the WNBA because we have players on here like Diana Taurasi who are in their final Olympics run. And I think it's better to get that leadership, that veteran leadership. Everyone's saying, "Oh yeah, U.S. is just going to dog walk every team by 20, and why don't you put Caitlin Clark in there?" Does anyone remember NBA Paul George, his injury?
Oh yeah,
The stanchion,
gruesome,
and it happened right after the Kevin Ware injury. That's why you don't put Caitlin Clark in, because there's always a chance, and you want to diminish those chances by just having her removed from something that essentially does. The USA winning gold with Caitlin Clark does not make it any better than the USA winning gold. It's going to be the same thing. U.S. winning gold is all that matters to Americans, period. We win or that's it. We don't care about second or third place, period. You saw that with FIBA last year. We were like, oh, man, it's great that Anthony Edwards is leading this team. We saw the great improvements of all these players on this team. We're talking about how they could do better, and it's, U.S. versus the world. It was a great conversation. Flash in the pan, then the NBA season happened. But no one cared after that because the USA didn't win gold. So Caitlin Clark missing this opportunity doesn't mean she won't have like 6 other chances, because she's young enough. You see Diana Taurasi doing it. She's basically Kobe Bryant, okay, for the WNBA. And there's a reason why she's on that roster, which is another conversation which we can have all together at another time. But Caitlin Clark's going to have plenty of chances, okay? She might even include it. It's not really part of her game, but she could be included in a 3-on-3, which people might be talking about. I don't know if you guys watch 3-on-3 ball. It's a huge thing, especially with women's basketball. Half-court game, phenomenal. A lot of fundamentals going on there. You guys go check it out. But her being left off the roster, I believe it says a lot more about the direction that USA basketball for the Olympics Committee wants to take the team versus the necessary importance of trying to draw in fans. This isn't U.S. men's soccer, okay? You don't need to start adding people to getting them citizenship and start adding international stars to the American roster in order to get Americans to watch more football, okay? Because we're already watching the game. We've been watching women's games, and it's more important to us to get hardware, okay? We want hardware. And yeah, Caitlin Clark can add to that a little bit, but she's not going to be a game changer for this team. If they're losing, it's because the other team is just better. Caitlin Clark won't change that. So take it for what you will. You guys can give your comments later, but I just wanted to make sure to go ahead and address that, okay? Do we have anything else today? We got you on for a second, man. You've been on for a lot longer, basically being the crutch for the show. We appreciate you holding us up, man. You got anything for us today that you wanted to talk about?
I tried to reach out to him when you were messing with that cartel Wi-Fi there for a bit, but he didn't respond either. So I think he might be behind the scenes, probably pulling some daddy duty as well. As we know, Iggy's got his little ones too. So
yeah. So I guess I think that basically rounds it out for today. You know what? Actually, it was brought up in the comments earlier. We can just go ahead and talk a little bit about the other thing, which has come to a surprise. We want to talk about Dan Hurley real quick as a possible hire for the Lakers. What are your thoughts on that? Your feelings on that? And I gotta, it's especially important because you're an Aztecs fan, right?
Yep.
Okay, so seeing Dan Hurley up there as the guy that basically denied the Aztecs a possible NCAA championship. How do you feel about Dan Hurley coming to the Lakers?
I mean, hey, that was a hell of a run by the Aztecs. I mean, that UConn team, Dan Hurley is a heck of a coach. I mean, I think right now he is college basketball. I mean, he's got an opportunity to make UConn, man. They're in that conversation with Duke, North Carolina. Like, you look at the amount of national championships they've won, especially over the last 25 years. And what he's doing with that team the last couple of years. I don't know, man, about the college coach being great coming over to the NBA. I just, we saw it with Billy Donovan, right? 20 years back with Florida. We saw it with who was it? Brad Stevens out of Butler, and now he's doing front office stuff for those Celtics, right? I believe he still works for Boston. But not coaching. I don't know, man. A guy like JJ Redick, he hasn't coached, but he did play in the league for a long time. He's got a lot more NBA experience.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I don't mind Dan Hurley, and I don't. It is what it is, man. The UConn team was just so much better than the Aztecs. I mean, it was a great championship appearance, a great run. So no ill will in that regard. I think he's a hell of a coach, but I do wonder if he's a hell of a college coach. If he's the guy that fits that. I'm not saying he's on this level yet, but that Coach K kind of guy. And I know Coach K's had his Team USA, and he earned that respect, though. If you're talking 20 years from now, okay, then LeBron and those guys would maybe listen to him on that level. Yeah. But right now, I think he is a leader of young men. I think he's built something there. I think he's got a college program. Now, could he change that to become a pro coach? I'm sure he could, but I just don't know. We haven't seen it, and I don't know if that's who he is. But I see him as that guy that goes to a university and stays there and just continues to be the face of college basketball. And he could be the face of college basketball. You could argue right now he is the coach that's the face with, some of these greats that have moved on, right? We no longer have Roy Williams. We no longer have Coach K. Like, you could be that guy, Dan Hurley. So I know the Lakers' job is great, but, man, you could stay there at UConn and just continue to dominate. So, personally, it's fine, but I don't really see why you go the college to NBA route just because of the success he's had there, whether it's him or somebody else.
If I'm Hurley, I'd probably sit and marinate on it. I mean, as much as success as he's had, you always have to ask yourself the question: is my success due to how I've built and the room that I've been given, or is it because these last couple of years were just my year? Or because with college, it's always three things. It's either the players that you've recruited and developed yourself, which means that you have great recruitment, you have great GM skills, you can see talent. Is it because you've been able to cultivate these kids because you said, oh, they're rough around the edges, but I can make them into something and do what I want them to do, which is great coaching? Or is it just the players themselves? And I don't think it's much more the third one. I think these guys they're just more athletic. They were bigger than San Diego State, and they were just bigger and more athletic this year when they won it. I strongly believe that it's one of the first two, but being a great GM, we're not looking for a GM. So now you got to ask yourself, if Dan Hurley is able to make to mold clay, if you would, are any of the players that the Lakers currently have on the roster, because again, no roster moves have been made. Zero.
Right.
So the team that we had this past season, with all the injuries and the lack of usage, like the Max Christie's, can Dan Hurley get the most out of these guys? This team was built to be a 3-and-D team with lack of interior presence outside of Anthony Davis. So can he take some smaller guys and turn them into more defensive presences? Because, I mean, you got a guy like Al Horford who is effectively undersized on the Boston Celtics, and he's still eating at his age. So how do you, like, if you're Dan Hurley, can you say, can I do that or not? And I always like to proceed with caution, because if you're pursuing a coach really hard, I give him one more year. If I'm being pursued hard, I say, hey, give me one more year to see if I can really do this, because I got a lot of guys returning from this championship team. I got some seniors leaving, but I got some championship players returning for UConn. Let me see if I can do this one more year. If I can do just about that much with an incoming freshman squad with that success and then some, yeah, give it to me. But if I do anything substandard, then let me stay at UConn, because I don't want to fall flat on my face. Again, UConn can give them a lot of money, give them a lot of years, do a lot better, honestly, than the Lakers can do as a franchise. Because what we've seen over the past 5.5, 6 seasons is a coaching carousel that has been equivalent to what the Cleveland Browns have, okay? And how successful have they been, really? It's been a slow development of talent, But as far as the coaching is concerned, it's been hard to get that nailed down. And I say the Lakers, as we don't want to be looked at as a franchise that's just a coaching carousel, that's just there for just a star power for a win now mode. Because you can't win now if you don't start winning ways from the beginning. That's my take. So I don't know.
And how long of a leash do you give Hurley? I mean, if they're not winning now let's say they keep LeBron and AD and they have this same core and they're not winning out the gate. I mean, we've seen this team fire coaches very early. I know they held on to Ham for a bit, but we've seen them move on from guys like Mike Brown. We've seen them move on from Vogel after winning a championship. I mean, you're just going to all of a sudden give this guy a leash that the Lakers don't really give coaches.
And that's what I'm saying is that if you're the Lakers, you don't normally give leashes like this unless you just continue winning. I mean, even Phil Jackson got a little bit longer leash than what normally you would normally see. At least he was able to walk away.
Right.
At least that was in a tumultuous moment, and then we started getting the Shaws and the Waltons and all that stuff. At least this was sort of that was sort of different. But for this entire period here, I think it was living off of legacy, and if it just comes down to, I think it comes down to the GM saying, "Hey, you know what? I think it's about time we start playing basketball again." And we got dangerously close to it last season, and I think it was a great basketball decision to get rid of Ham. As much as the optics might have been there, it just none of the other things were working out to where you could have continued to have Ham there with all the staff. I thought they would have at least considered Phil Handy because he's been there. He's worked with just about every player that's been on that team. He's got much more of a repertoire with the players, but he probably just didn't have the head coaching chops, and they wanted to get rid of the whole feeling of Ham out of that locker room completely. That much I understand. I thought, and if not Hurley, because I would give him 2 years at least, one to establish and one to continue. And that's what Ham got. The problem with Ham is that Ham basically stayed the same. Record-wise, performance-wise, habits-wise. Bad at calling crucial timeouts, bad at substitution, bad at recognizing lineups, bad at injury management. Just bad all across the board. Bringing Jared Vanderbilt back for that play-in tournament was absolutely the worst idea in his coaching career. So is Dan Hurley going to have something happen like that? I doubt it. Now that the inaugural play-in tournament and all the hoopla from last season is out of the way, LeBron is basically taking a step back, and Anthony Davis has all the power and control right now. It's got to be 2 years for any coach, especially Hurley. And I think it's fair to say that because when you come into any job, you got to kind of adjust. And sometimes midseason adjustments are the key to whether you're going to stay on or not. You get your 30 days or your 90 days at whatever job you're at. You get past that point and they say, okay, this guy's going to cut it, or there's some things we got to work on, or not, this guy's not going to cut it at all. I thought Vogel, just to round that out, I thought Frank Vogel was going to be on that list because Frank Vogel was the reason why we got Dwight. Vogel was the reason why we got I keep wanting to call him barbecue chicken. What's his name that we had in the interior for like 20 games? We got him off of Denver. Who
from Denver? That went to Denver or was from Denver?
I think we got him from Denver. It was Dwight Howard, Anthony Davis, and why is his name on the tip of my tongue? And
I know when you say it, I'm going to know what you're talking about. Not when they had Thomas Bryant, though, right?
No. This is before
that. The year before that, which was.
It's gonna come up to me. I'm looking it up now. JaVale McGee.
McGee, that's right. Yeah, there you go. JaVale, man. Yeah, that guy's been everywhere. Right.
McGee was an absolute beast in the center, at the center position. And then it goes, but Vogel's idea was to present some sort of defensive stance on the interior. He knew what the Lakers were not. Like, again, we all knew that the Lakers couldn't shoot three-pointers. The Lakers haven't been able to traditionally shoot three-pointers consistently since Trevor Ariza's early days, okay? So to know as a coach something like that, to see your team, it's really huge. And I don't know if the Lakers are ready to the Lakers haven't given themselves an identity since Vogel. So I don't know, maybe go back to what you know. Sometimes when the ship is faltering, you need to rebuild up the job space and get back to, producing. You got to go back to some of your old employees who essentially helped get you there. And I know it's kind of bass backwards to say because everything moves forward and you're supposed to start to grow from that. But right now, there are a lot of coaches that are in the NBA that are on their second or third or sometimes even fourth team that have had success. Jason Kidd, is one of them. You got over in Indiana, Coach Carlisle, who's had some success after leaving Dallas and then coming back. I mean, you got Mike Brown up in Sacramento, who just re-upped. You got Coach Lou, who didn't do so well first time around, came back, and they just continued him on the Clippers, and now he's continuing. So I think that right now, if you're following the trend of the NBA, Vogel is probably the better hire right now because you can give Vogel a little less leash. You can say, okay, it's your second time around. Pretty much most of the personnel. You got a guy that's like Alex Caruso if they don't get Caruso in the offseason. This your guy right here. You got a year, maybe two. We'll see how the success. If you could do better than Ham, right? Because right now the floor is Ham, right? Ceiling is a championship. That's a lot of wiggle room in there. And I think that you could take Vogel for 1 year, LeBron, possibly get someone to step in for LeBron's minutes because, we got to save him. He's going to be coming off of an Olympic season. I think that'll be that. But we'll wait and see, right? I mean, we only got less than a minute here. Again, appreciate you coming on. Guys, thank you again for tuning in. Again, this is the Sports Affiliations TSA Hoop Show where we do reviews for all things hoops related. Today we did review, so you guys can check the spotty review from earlier for Game 1, Boston versus Dallas. The spotty preview for today's bets for Boston. We went over a little bit of Caitlin Clark effect. You guys gave your comments on that below. And if you guys have anything else you want to talk about, please be sure to follow us on X. Be sure to follow this channel here. Make sure you subscribe, leave the comments below. We do get back to you. We do get back to you because we love you. We appreciate you. We include everybody in here, and your opinion matters to us. Keep an eye out. We are going to have some big stuff coming up. We're going to be talking about the Olympics later on. We're going to be doing review for games 3 and 4 from this week. Thank you for tuning in. Hey, SoCal. Don't work too hard, man. I know it's Sunday, but chill, man. The weather's playing. Don't put the weather's playing with us out here, man. It's all good. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend, guys. Evan, you got anything to say to people before we dip out of here?
No, I'm a little behind on work for the day, but that's all right. I got plenty of time, man. I'd rather come on and talk ball anytime. You know that. But I will say, man, the Lakers should have never fired Frank Vogel. And the NBA does a terrible job of firing coaches too early in plenty of situations. So, I think consistency matters. I think veteran leadership matters. Guys that know what they're doing. Vogel has that. Lakers don't have time to wait to give a guy a year. I think you got to bring in somebody who knows what to do with a LeBron-led team whose window is, if you want to give them a window, I guess they always have a window, or they think they have a window. We think we always do. And they do. They try to make the moves, to your shooting point. They brought guys in to be shooters who have been shooters, and somehow they come to the Lakers and they forget how to shoot, i.e. Malik Beasley, guys like that. Then they go somewhere else and go back to shooting 40%. But You know, you look at Milwaukee, right? They're paying 3 coaches right now. Budenholzer should have never left. He won a chip. Be grateful for what you have in a coach. Stop firing coaches and thinking you can bring somebody in and win again, man. Let these guys build something. I know Lou struggled in the playoffs, and I'm a big believer that he was awful in the playoffs against Dallas. But he's a proven coach. He's there. They've got something cooking. Why bring in somebody else and go backwards, man? We see it in the NFL all the time, too, and I hate this thing, and I'm already going off on a little ranting rage here about it. But, man, new coordinators, new coaches, stop, man. Right? I get Darvin Ham. It didn't work. They gave him next year. But overall, I'm talking guys who know what they're doing. Stop making these changes and letting your team go 2 steps back and finding yourself in the same boat over and over and over, man. Let teams develop.
Facts.
It's just the world we live in, man. If you're not winning now, if you're not getting what you want now, we change it. And sometimes, you know, it's like leaving before the miracle happens, man. And other than that, man, I'll end my rant with that. You know, I could talk ball all day. I appreciate everybody that popped in the comments. And if you got, you know, any other bets of the day or any other things you want on the game, man, pop them in. Go join the Discord. Talk NBA Finals with us. Talk football chat. Talk off-season moves. Talk anything you want in there sports-related. Talk anything you want life-related, man. Whatever it is, man, we're in there talking, having a good time on the Sports Affiliation Discord. Other than that, man, that's all I got, JR.
All right. Thank you guys for tuning in again. I got to go be dad, and I got to go clean up for the day. So got to try to go get the house ready and get some feng shui for hopefully a Dallas win today. This has been a blessing. This has been great. Hope you guys had your coffee this morning. I am JR at SoCal. Iggy couldn't join us today, but he'll get us on the next one. Thanks for tuning in on the TSA Sports Show. We're getting out of here, y'all. Appreciate it. Peace.